Just too white and nerdy. I think I'm just too white and nerdy. I'm just too white and nerdy. How'd I get so white and nerdy? I've been browsing, inspecting X-Men comics. You know I collect them. The pens in my pocket, I must protect them. My ergonomic keyboard never leaves me bored. Shopping online for deals on some writable media. I added Wikipedia. I memorize Holy Grail really well. I can recite it right now. NumnutzTutorials. I got a business to a website. While friends need some code, who do they call? I do HTML for them all. Even made a homepage for my dog. Yo.
Welcome everybody to NumnutzTutorials. Basically I'm doing tutorials for Photoshop tutorials for you today, and I'm going to teach you how to do some Web 2.0 text effects. Basically that's the text effects or style that you see on a lot of the websites nowadays that looks reflected. The text looks reflected, and you might be just like I was before when I didn't know about this trick, and you'd say, hey, how do they do that? So I'll teach you how to do that. I will let the secret unleashed. So you're going to go to File. Let's start off with a new document, and we'll set it. We don't have to name it anything since it's just test. I'm going to set it to 800 by 600. I used 400 for my resolution, just to make it come out a little bit better. Make it full screen here. What I'm going to do here is use a green color for my text. This is going to be a in-between green. It's not going to be too bright or too dark. This particular green is coded by 80A457. In case you're following along and you want to do this at home. I'm going to click on the T to start a text field. Click into the field any way you'd wish. And I'm just going to type in tutorials. You can type in whatever you want. I'm just going to type in tutorials there. On this, I'm going to actually show you how to add the text effects to it to make it look the way the intro page was. That splash page that I did at the beginning that said text effects, you're gonna actually make it so it looks like NumnutzTutorials. We're going to go first. We're going to click on either double click on this empty section here, or you can just right click on it, and what it'll do is it'll bring up to the layer styles and the blending properties. So go to blending options, bring up our layer styles. Let's move this underneath so we can see the entire thing of tutorials. Click on drop shadow, leave it as multiply, set the opacity down to about 45%. It'll fade the drop shadow down a little bit. As far as the distance goes in pixels, just put 3. The spread also 3%, and the size of the pixel size we're going to put as 9. We can either use 9 or we can use 10. Let's just set it as 10. Fades it out a little bit better. Let's see, we'll go to gradient overlay. On gradient overlay, we're going to actually leave the black to white gradient, and we're going to set the opacity down to, let's use 40. And now you can see it definitely did a dramatic change to the color of the text, and actually made it a little bit more dramatic to look at, made it better for the eyes. So we're going to go down to leave the angle at 90 and leave the scale at 100. There's a stroke now. And for this particular one, I'm going to use 2 pixels. I'm going to leave it as an outside position stroke. Leave the blend mode to normal and the opacity at 100. The color we're going to use for our stroke, let's just use white, so that'll stand out after the drop shadow was in place. Hit OK. Now for this one, to make it the mirrored look, what we can do is now go to Layer, Rasterize. We're going to rasterize our type that we just made. The word tutorials will be rasterized now, so it will be non-editable as far as changing the letters or anything like that. With that, now we're going to go to Control J and make a copy of that tutorials word there. I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Vertical. It's going to give us a kind of a mirrored look. If we hold shift and just click down a little bit, it's going to give us a basic mirrored look. And what I'm going to do there, as you can see, I'm just tapping the down cursor to give it a little difference between both of the two words, to kind of give it a little spacing between there to make it seem a little bit more realistic as far as the fade. I'm going to click on the second layer we made, not the top layer. So I'm going to click on the second layer we made, that's on the bottom. Click on the rectangular marquee tool, which is this little square in the top left. I like to select a little less than half of that word on the bottom. Now we're going to go to Select, Feather, and let's do a feather of 20 pixels. You can see what it's taken away. I'm going to move it over just a little bit. Now from there, just hit delete a couple of times. I just did a total of 3 deletes. You just hit select and deselect, or Control D. Now there you have it. You get a nice little mirrored reflection that we have under our tutorials word. It's just a simple text effect that you can use using Photoshop and just normal text effects, drop, shadow, gradient, and stroke. I just used Adobe Photoshop CS, and this can be used on many different versions of Photoshop. I hope you liked the tutorial. If you did like the tutorial and you tried it out, either send me some of your versions that you have, link me with some of your reflections that you've made, or just leave me comments underneath this video. Right on the bottom where it says comments, leave me a comment and let me know how you think this video was, and we will definitely make more tutorials for you, including some Adobe Flash videos on animation and some Adobe Dreamweaver for some web design. And thank you very much. Good day, people.